Now, Rebecca had heard the news that Saint Fire Knox has broken up, knowing that she abandons her and Connor to become the founder of a church, knowing of how she became one of the original Saints Galactica, in which she is completely in shock, which both she and Connor is better head to the medical bay to find her awake, which she did, but she actually restrained Sister Ivory in the way that she wanted to restrain her victims, which they are actually have a blank expression, which of course, like the old saying, like father, like daughter, as Rachel, who actually calls Ivory Ducky, which that is actually a famous catchphrase for Rebecca when she goes into berserk, knowing of Connor stopping her, which she now see Rebecca and Connor as well, knowing of how Sister Ivory explains what actually happened when she attacks her, putting Rebecca's speed to shame, in which we knew how she remembers the last thing she can is that Siki attacking the church, which she was captured by him. Well, it's actually because Eden's one controlling him, in which we knew how they founded the Church of Saint Fire, knowing of how it could be an excuse. But she tells them the truth, which she came from Melts in the Yukia Cosmos, which is actually a name reference to Yukino from Fairy Tale, in which a church was there for ages, which is the Church of Saint Fire, which is actually her ancestral home, in which for generations members of her family are required to act as the founder of the church, which she was trained at a young age, knowing that she decided to take the role of founder for herself, knowing of what they've actually knew that the women of her family has the power to control time, which that includes Rebecca and Rachel, knowing of how the cat lemur is actually the one to transport that power onto their cells, in which around the time she fell in love with Carter, who was the lieutenant commander of the Freedom Force, knowing of how he was promoted, in which 3 years that she spent with him was actually the best years of her life. That is when they actually knew that she left him on the day that their daughter was born, knowing of how everyone else realized of what actually happened. She came to a shocking conclusion of what might happen when Carter was killed by the members of the Church of Saint Fire, knowing of how he said that he is still alive, by which she turned back the time, which she said that Carter was killed in a different world or timeline, as we call it, by which she's going back into where she's going to a world where Carter didn't die, in which the group realized of what she has became fanatics, which knowing of how Rebecca was for when they turn on her, which they cannot accept a child without a degree, knowing of they won't allow Rebecca to die, in which she actually goes to a world to find her survive and live together. which she tries thousands of times, but there's only limits of what the powers can do until she sent her far away to the Cherry Blossom Dance, which is the Sakura Cosmos, which she knew that all that actually happens is when they've actually took control of the church. That is when the grandmother, which of course Knox was a title given to all of the church founders, in which the name that took his own life, in which the grandmother looks exactly like her, but she passed away, knowing of she apologized to abandon Rebecca, in which she actually turned around, knowing that she finally meet her parents for the first time, in which Rachel have told Rebecca that she always loved her, as they hug for the first time, knowing of they finally meet as a family reunion, which that is actually an emotional one as well. So we knew how Rebecca would react to Rachel, aka Saint Fire Knox, awoke until she told the entire story of the origins of the Church of Saint Fire. And at the end, we see how Rebecca, Rachel, and Carter finally have a proper family reunion, in which we knew what this could mean, as the final arc has already started. But we're going to see what's going to happen on the next chapter next weekend. So anyway, like this video, subscribe for more, and comment what you think about the manga chapter. You guys can also follow me on Twitter, Instagram, Tumblr, and my Facebook page and Twitch. Until then, this is Anime Guys right here saying sign out. Laters, and be safe.